tonight to think about leadership in terms of what is it? What is it about? And then I want to engage your brain in saying, hey, why do we need it? Is it important? Should we throw it out or should we just do as we like? Yes? And then we want to look at who, what type of person should lead Fisherfolk organizations and who leads now. And then we want to look a bit at leadership styles. How is leadership carried out? And I want to throw in a little spin ball at the end and look at the question, when is leadership required? Or explore the question, when? You know, we want to look at these, but we also want to look at when. When should we lead, or when is leadership needed? So first, we want to look at what is leadership. So we're talking about leading, that is to be in charge, to organize, to plan, to direct, to make something happen. Or leadership is about taking somebody somewhere to a particular destination or to a particular situation or to a particular position. So that's about leading. So a leader is a person who does those things. Leads or commands or takes some persons or a person somewhere. So leadership is about somebody or a group of persons leading. Now, I really want to share a quote I got from John Maxwell. He said, leadership is about influence, nothing more, nothing less. And then if you go and search for the definitions of leadership outside of a dictionary, saying a thesaurus or in general leadership material, you'll find that leadership is more about social influence, particularly in the Western world. It's about influencing people. So a person enlists the aid of other persons to accomplish a common task. So in the context of Fisherfolk organizations, I want to embrace the thought that leadership is a process of social influence by a person or a group of persons to enlist the support of other persons to achieve a shared goal or objective. So the key point in answering the question, what is leadership, I really want you to think about is, influencing people. So leadership is about social influence. So if we say that leadership is about social influence, then we want to think about what are the things that influence people. So there's inspiration, there's motivation, because you have to impact people first before you can influence them. And then there's the issue of participation. So when you actively engage people in terms of inspiration and motivation, and you participate in an activity with them, you can actually get somewhere together. But all of this must be based on some shared objective. So the key aspects of what is leadership are about influencing people, social. It's about motivation, inspiration. It's about participation, all of us doing something together, collaborating in an activity. But it's based on a goal, getting people to a common destination. So we look at what is leadership. But let us think about the question, why is leadership necessary? So why is leadership important? So I want to really place this in small-scale fisheries. So leadership is important in small-scale fisheries because small-scale fishers are important. And not just important, but they need to be securely important. So they need to be secure. So small-scale fisheries are important to our societies. They provide a way of life, some social coherence, They're also food providers, and they support livelihoods. But they also bring skills and knowledge and experiences that can promote sustainability in fisheries, which translate to stable societies, healthy people, and a reduction in poverty. So fishes are important. That is why leadership in fisherfolk organizations is important. But if we say that fishes are important and everybody agrees, then there will be no threats. And there may perhaps maybe no need for leadership. But fishers face threats to their livelihoods and to their activity from competing interests. And I just name a few. Tourism, we have conservation interests, and we have prime examples of these in all of your countries. We have oil and gas in some countries, and we have an emerging serious threat of the blue economy, which currently is focused on other activities outside of fisheries. So, sustaining fisher livelihoods require leadership to get us there, because they are threats. And if there's no leadership to mitigate threats or to take us beyond threats, then we die. So leadership is important because small-scale fishes are important and we need to be secure. But I also want to say that leadership is important in fisherfolk organizations because fisherfolk are impacted by many other players in their day-to-day lives. So not only because they are threats, but because there are other interests that we need to negotiate and work with. So if we look at all of the interests that surround fisheries, we see we have the issue of processing and quality of the product that we have. So we have manufacturers of ice, we have standards that we have to adhere to, and the other players that determine those things. We have the issue of transportation. We have the issues of marketing and distribution. We also have management activities that impact fisherfolk. So we need leadership to be able to negotiate in the management arena or to bring the skills of fisherfolk into the management mix so that we can have a more sustainable fisheries. We also have conservation interests. But I want to say to you that leadership in fisherfolk organizations ultimately secures the fishers' interests. So we have economics in fisheries. And in fisherfolk organizations, leadership can ensure that there's equity in the value chain so that fishers get a fair share of the profits from their activities. Leadership secures fishers' interests in relation to environmental and conservation concerns. And we can go on to look at management, international agreements, climate change, and scientific research. One example, because of fisherfolk leadership, fishers were able to secure fishers' interests in international fisheries policy, such as the small-scale fisheries guidelines. So we understand fisheries leadership is important in fisherfolk organization and in fisheries. So we want to look now at who leads fisherfolk. Who leads fisherfolk organization? So we had shared the thought that leadership is about social influence to enlist the support of others to reach a common goal or objective. So who leads? The person or persons who uses their influence to enlist the support of others to achieve a shared goal or objective is the person or group of persons who lead. Now, Groups with poor leadership can have several different leaders in one group, and the group goes nowhere. But good leadership focuses the entire group on a shared goal. So when you have good leadership in Fisherfolk organizations, everybody, the entire group is inspired to go to the same place. Now, in Fisherfolk organizations, we would love to see the type of leaders who are movers and shakers, who inspire and motivate others with a vision, who are able to get members to commit to a common shared goal and objective, but also leaders who collaborate, who participate, who work with and align people to the group goals. But it's also important to see that it is necessary that whoever leads Fisherfolk organizations consider themselves to be caretakers of the group's culture, the values, and the goals of the group. So leaders are the ones who influence and get support to move to the desired destination. Now, how is leadership carried out? So there are many different leadership styles. That is the how do we influence people? How do we get people to commit and move to achieve a common goal? So there's authoritarian leadership. This is the type of leadership where the person or group of persons tell the other people what to do without getting any advice or input from the other members of the group. Then you have participatory or democratic leadership. So this is how. So the leader here includes one or more of the other members in deciding what to do and how to do it. So there's collaboration and some input from the other members. And then there's delegative or free rein type of leadership. Here, the leader allows the members to make the decisions, but does provide some overall guidance. So this is how leadership is carried out. Most leadership functionaries engage in one or two or all three types of leadership at some point in time, but one type is predominant. Some of the things that we want to share on how leadership is carried out, irrespective of the style of leadership, authoritarian, participatory, or delegative, we want to look at some of the common or desired traits of leadership in this current era, in this age that we live in. So it is recognized that where we live in the Western world, leadership is encouraged to share power with the group. So we don't encourage the sort of a one-man show type of leadership. So leadership is encouraged to be collaborative, engage others, participatory. But leadership is also encouraged to express the organization's values. In this regard, we say leadership seeks to impress upon the members of the group the values of the group and to express those values continuously so that they become part of the group psyche. Leadership today is also encouraged to pull together the strengths and the talents of all the team members. So everyone in the group has something to contribute, and leadership is encouraged to identify those things and to use them to get to the group's destination. But leadership must also have a social aspect. Remember, we're talking about social influence. So leadership should have a caring and a positive attitude towards people. And this is extremely important in Fisherfolk organizations where the organizations have some voluntary nature. And when people recognize that leaders are not careful about or caring towards them, then they become disinterested and refuse to participate. And one of the final things I want to share about leaders of today is leaders are open about their own weaknesses and are willing to admit their mistakes. So we see how leadership is carried out. Their styles, and there are some attributes that are desirable. Finally, when is leadership needed? You want to look at this question. When is leadership needed? I want to suggest to you very strongly that leadership is a continuum. So leadership never stops occurring. So leadership is about visioning and communications. So even from the start, leadership is there. Leadership is about inspiring from the beginning along the way. And when you reach the desired goal, visioning again to get to the next level. Leadership is about motivating, so it's needed all the time to keep people going. Leadership is about stewardship, caretaking. So anytime the group's values are threatened or the culture of the group is threatened, leadership needs to step in. And leadership needs to be extremely watchful to ensure that those are protected. Leadership needs to engage in adaptive management when things are happening, as well as advocacy and representation. So leadership, when is leadership needed? Leadership is a continuum. Leadership is always needed for the promotion of the group's success. Thank you very much. That's the end of this module. Okay, so